In the summer of 2025, I started paying real attention to the birds in our backyard. I hung a couple of camera feeders and little by little, with a lot of help from the Merlin app, I learned their names and their habits. I wanted to know them better. So I bought 2 birdhouses, fitted each with a blink camera, and set them on poles, right where the lawn meets the pines. I turned both doorways toward the east and southeast, so the summer sun wouldn't bake them, and the wind wouldn't blow straight in. We have 2 kind neighbors, Ben and Mark, so I named the boxes after them, whichever house stood closer. Ben's birdhouse and Mark's birdhouse. And then nothing. For the longest time, almost no one came, and the few who did would only peer in from the doorway and leave. I even scattered a little sawdust inside, to make it feel lived in. It didn't help. The boxes stayed empty through the fall, and emptier still through the winter. And then in March everything changed. The visits came constant now, mostly chickadees. Once in a while, a red-breasted nuthatch would cling at the doorway and peer inside, then think better of it and flit away. It never did go in. The first to truly move in was Ben's birdhouse, a chestnut-backed chickadee. Around April 4th it began to build. At almost the same time, a black-capped chickadee claimed Mark's box. At first they both worked the floor, pecking, tidying, renovating the place. The one at Mark's kept at it the hardest. Ben's chestnut-backed barely bothered. Instead it built up, layer on layer, until the nest had climbed almost to the entrance hole. I don't know if every chestnut-back does this or just this one. One guess. They come from the damp Pacific coast, and raising the nest keeps the eggs dry. I can't say for sure. But it came with a cost. With the nest built so high, the little bird ended up right against the lens, and a security camera is made to watch a yard, not a few inches away. So from here on, some of Ben's footage goes soft and dreamy, and the far corner drifts out of frame. The other nest sat much lower and stayed sharp. There was a third box too, one I put up earlier that year on the side of the house. I called it the Home Birdhouse, and it had a twist all its own. The first nest there was started by a chestnut-backed chickadee, but a pair of black-capped chickadees kept coming back to claim it. For a whole day the two traded the box in out again and again. In the end the black-caps won it for good. The nest the chestnut-backed had begun, they would finish and make their own. April 26th, 6 eggs in Ben's birdhouse. May 1st, 6 more in the home box. May 8th and 6 again in Mark's. Chickadees usually lay 6 to 8. By pure chance, all 3 of our nests stopped at exactly 6. By the first days of May, Ben's eggs were due. But on April 27th, the camera's battery died, and I wouldn't open the box mid-hatch and risk disturbing them. So I waited. When I finally swapped it on May 7th, the box blinked back to life, and there they were already hatched. A nest full of tiny, blind, almost bald chicks. After that, both parents were a blur, in and out, dawn to dusk, filling that pile of open beaks. They grew fast. Of the 6, 5 would make it. By late May, they'd grown so big the box could barely hold them. The battery was fading again, and I didn't dare open the box and risk an early fledge, so on May 22nd, I set a camera outside instead. By the 23rd, the chicks were leaning out the doorway, taking in the world. Then, on the morning of the 25th, the parents changed the game. They stopped coming inside and began calling from just outside, food in their beaks, coaxing the little ones to follow. Our very last look-in caught one of them frozen at the doorway, too afraid to jump. But it leapt. By that afternoon, the box had gone quiet and empty. Every one of them had fledged. A few days later, 2 of the young ones turned up at the feeder, still shadowing their parents, still begging to be fed. Ben's box gave us the happiest ending we could have hoped for. In the home box we saw something I'll never forget. While she sat the eggs, he kept slipping in to feed her, beak to beak, so she'd never have to leave them. All 6 hatched. They grew, crowding the little cup, though one was always smaller. Always last, always reaching. By the start of June, the boldest were already peeking out at the world. On June 3rd, they began to go, one after another, up to the doorway and gone. But the smallest couldn't follow. Parent looked in on it one more time and then this time didn't feed it. That was the last we saw of it. We tried to save it. By the time I got home it was too late. The other 5 made it out and into the trees because of a nest that, for them, was never left hungry. Mark's box looked just as promising. 6 perfect eggs, and in mid-May they began to hatch. By the 18th, 3 of the 6 had hatched. By the 20th, all 6, and the feeding began. But the visits were few and grew fewer. The mother came less and less, and one by one the chicks slipped away. By the 23rd, the nest was empty. Not one had made it. I never once saw a father. Maybe that was the difference. And still the mother stayed 2 more nights in the empty box, until on the 24th she left for the last time. After that, the box went quiet and stayed quiet. Not every story ends the way we'd wish. But this one was part of the spring, too. There was a 4th nest we never planned for. Earlier that spring, a pair of dark-eyed juncos had tucked one right under our deck, and we got a camera beside it just in time. On April 11th, the eggs were still hatching. The very next day, the feeding began. We could only watch from the side, so we never got a clean count. But we watched 2 chicks grow scruffy, then feathered, then very nearly birds. And one morning they were gone, out from under the deck and into the yard. For little homes. For families. Some endings we cheered for and one we grieved. All of it, a few seconds at a time, one ordinary, extraordinary spring in our own backyard.